All right. Let me see here. It is one of those nights, I tell you. All right. Let me see. Uh, I guess things are going well. Third time's the charm, as they say. After two attempts to go live and having some technical problems here and there. Let's see. I want to do this and click on that. I know this makes for some riveting entertainment late at night, doesn't it? Let's see. I'm going to make this do that. And then go here and there. And I believe things are. Yep, I think things are going all right here. My audio should be fine. I have no idea. How's my audio, everyone? All right. I guess I'm. ah, it's been a day, I tell you. And now I've decided to make some good use of some insomnia and do a live stream where I'm looking at everything on my laptop and my soundboard, trying to remember what does what. Yes, yes, yes. Anyway, as you might have guessed it, tonight's theme for chat is nostalgia. I've been taking a trip down memory lane, as it was, kind of thinking about back in the day when, well, things were relatively cool back then. Oh, and before I get started here, I want to say hello to Killer Rabbit from Space. Good seeing you here. Thanks for hanging out with me. Oh, and the audio is great, he says. That's cool. This little rabbit was confused. Yes, I tried live streaming twice and then had some technical problems. If it was something like a football game, the referees would be out in the field throwing the flag saying false start, technical issues, or something like that. Just to make a nice football analogy there. But there I was earlier today and some yesterday, taking a trip down memory lane, thinking about all the stuff I used to do during the 70s and 80s and bit of 90s, thinking about all the places I used to hang out with friends and all the things that we would do. And that's when you get nostalgic. That's when you think back to all those times that were and think about how good things were back then, or at least in my case. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I like to think nostalgia is called nostalgia for a reason, because we all look back at times gone by, times past, hanging out at the arcade with friends, shooting a breeze, wasting tons of quarters on your favorite coin operated video game, maybe going to a mall, wasting time in the mall. For me, it was an escape on a hot Texas day, hanging out with friends, just walking around the mall, looking at stuff, maybe having some very expensive food at the food court. Then maybe afterwards, hitting downtown, hitting some comic book stores, maybe catching a movie. So there I was, taking myself back, thinking, sadly, a lot of those places are just gone. They're not around anymore, and that's kind of sad. The cool arcades I used to frequent with friends, all the comic book stores I used to hang out. They're just not gone. They're just not around anymore. They're long gone. Oh, somebody new in the chat. Hello, Safad Beeblebrox. Thank you for joining me tonight. I do believe this is the first time I've seen you in one of my live streams, so welcome. Very cool to have you here. Thanks for hanging out a bit. If it's the first time for you checking out one of my live streams, I just pick a random topic and just start rambling on. So on my previous live streams, I used to joke about weaponizing my insomnia and just rambling on about this, that, and the other thing. Tonight's topic of rambling or musings, nostalgia, arcades, and dying malls. I was thinking about trying to do a video game retrospective live stream, but oh, you're formerly Tim the Enchanter. Okay, well, hello, Tim, or Zaphod Beeblebrox. That's cool. Thanks for hanging out. And I see you have the classic Zaphod from the BBC series, and not that terrible remake movie that was kind of lacking. So props for going back to nostalgia, a classic series from way back when. That's cool. So yeah, I was thinking about doing a. Oh, yes, love the original. Yeah, the original, and then the audio series, the audio play. It's kind of odd how Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy started. From my understanding, it started off as a audio play, and then became a TV miniseries, and then the book series, which is kind of odd because normally you have a book and then it gets adapted to a TV series, but it was just the opposite for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, from what I understand from way back when. So let's see. What is this? Very first thing I'm going to hit on here is nextstopnostalgia.com, best 80s arcade games. Oh, you have all the books. That's cool. I think I have two, maybe three of them myself. It's been ages since I've read them. I know I have at least one floating around one of my bookshelves. They were great to read. That and Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. That was a fun read as well. There was a TV series based on that. Well, actually, two TV series based on Dirk Gently's Detective Agency, from what I remember. The first one being a BBC miniseries, 4 episodes. Quite enjoyed them. The next series was, oh goodness. I want to say that one series was Hulu or Netflix. Yeah, the first book was my favorite. Yeah. The second Dirk Gently TV series, I really want to say was Hulu, going by memory, but my memory might be bad on that. I just remember one Dirk Gently TV series I really, really enjoyed, and the other one was just too odd and too bloody for me to enjoy. I want to say that was the American remake, whereas the BBC series I thought did a pretty good job. I don't think either one of the two Dirk Gently TV shows followed the book all that much, but I thought I enjoyed the BBC one much better. So going back to a little bit of nostalgia there with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. Now, recently I've been thinking about more and more about all the arcades I used to hang out with friends at, and oh, all the quarters I've spent. I have no idea how many quarters I've thrown into arcade games. But anyway, this is a nextstopnostalgia.com article. What the article says: My 21 best 80s arcade games, the essential list, according to. I don't see who wrote this article. I don't even see a date on this article. Anyway. Oh, you hated the token arcades. Yeah, I didn't like those either, where you had to take your crumpled up currency to some machine and it would spit out a bunch of tokens that you would then go and toss in some machines and whatnot. Yeah, that was like an extra unnecessary step. I remember quite a few of those back in the day. Let's see. The first one on this little list: Star Wars Arcade, Atari 1983. Yeah, I remember that. Clunky graphics, but it was 1983. Vector graphics. And there's one of the cabinets right there. I remember seeing the cabinet model quite a bit. I don't recall this one that you sat in and felt enclosed by. I don't remember seeing this one, but most of the arcades I remember from the 80s and that era, I remember the taller stand-up coin-operated machine. Here, let me see if I can enlarge this. There we go. Yeah, Atari Star Wars. That was fun, and it was pretty difficult from what I remember, trying to fly around, especially that stupid Death Star trench. Yeah, if anybody out there has ever played that and you got into the Death Star trench, and you had to go up and down, and then they would throw like two barriers for you to try to navigate. Ah, new in the chat, Admiral Teague. Hello, Admiral. Thank you for joining me. As I'm waxing poetic about things nostalgic, things that I remember from the 80s and 90s, kind of taking a trip down memory lane, as it were. Just kind of remembering stuff I used to do way back in the day, hanging out with friends, either on the weekend or after school, whatnot, hanging out at our local favorite arcades. Was that you spent hundreds on that Star Wars game? Yeah, I might have as well. I have absolutely no idea. All I know is if I had all the money I wasted on coin operated video games, I wouldn't be rich, but I'd probably be able to pay off a credit card or something like that. Maybe buy a new Jeep or something like that. Let's see. So this guy's number one. He started off with Star Wars Arcade. And so we have Operation Wolf, 1987. Huh. I don't remember that one. I don't think I've ever come across that one. Number three. Number three is Outrun, Sega, 1986. Okay, I think I remember that one. Robotron, 2084, 1984. Yeah, I remember that. That was really weird from what I remember. You had two joysticks. One controlled your little character on the screen, and then the other joystick controlled which direction your character was firing. That was kind of odd. I played it some, but I don't recall really enjoying it that much. And there's a screenshot of, Centipede, Missile Command, and Millipede. Yeah, those are fun games back in the day. Let's see. Admiral Teague says he'd have a lot of collectible quarters from the 50s and 60s. That's cool. Yeah, back then when hard currency had a certain silver content to them, as opposed to whenever they pulled all the silver out of the coinage. I want to say that was like 1967 or 68, that period of time. But now that's a tangent for another time. Oh, and new in the chat, Killy Chow. Hello. Thank you for joining us tonight. Very cool seeing you here. What's going on? Kind of a impromptu late night stream where I'm just rambling about things I've become nostalgic about. Oh, that is very cool. Wes Moody raid. Oh, excellent. Thank y'all very much. And Admiral Teague saying it happened during Vietnam. Oh, yes. Removing the silver content from the coinage. Yeah. I want to say it was like mid 60s. Because those people who are silver bugs and coin collectors, I know they look for coinage from that era because it has a lot of silver in it, or anywhere from uh, 60 to 90% silver, depending on what junk silver you look for and such. Killer Rabbit saying he and a friend must put enough coins in WWF WrestleFest to practically own it. Yes. Yes. Admiral Teague, maybe a little later, like 68. Yeah, I seem to remember like 67 or 68 when they did that. Keely Chow. Rip Madison Square Mall. Yeah. Yeah, there's things I get nostalgic about and think back at happier times, arcades, malls, comic book stores, regular bookstores even. I mean, these are places that just don't exist anymore, which is kind of sad. Let's see, we have what's on this list? Final Fight, Capcom 1989, Chase HQ 1988. I don't think I remember this one. I want to say around 88, 89, and 90, I remember that was about the period of time when PCs were just coming on the scene, and people were starting to buy family PCs, and then there were a trickle of games coming out for these PCs as opposed to the Atari 2600, which I still have my Atari 2600, but I haven't touched it in ages. I actually didn't get into the console gaming stuff. I went from right from my Atari to my PC. And then after I started playing games on my PC, that was pretty much it. Let's see. Number 7 on this list is Galaga, 1981. Oh yeah, Galaga. That's a classic coin op game right there. Oh, Keely Chow saying Gary and Klobby both owned some comic book stores. Yes, yes. Uh, at one time in the early 90s, right before I put myself through college the first time, I was working at a friend's comic book store in Podunk Town, Texas, kind of running it for him. It was fun. It was a blast. It's another thing I find myself nostalgic about, being there in the store, running it, having groups of people just hang out, shoot the breeze, talk about their favorite comic book stores, comic book characters, comic books, whatnot, TV shows, anything. Mikey Sue's 4, hello. Thanks for joining me tonight. Malls are practically gone. Yes, that is sad. And he misses arcades too. Yes, yes. Oh, and Killer Rabbit. In my city in the late 80s, they built the largest mall in the province and the downtown that was supposed to revitalize the area. Now they're in the middle of shutting it down. That's sad. It is kind of sad that mall culture is dying because we all have those happy memories of just hanging out at the mall with friends, doing absolutely nothing really, just walking around, killing time. Way back in our youth. Amazon destroyed them all. Yes, yes. There's so many factors behind the death of the mall. Amazon changing shopping habits, even the economy. Even let's see, number 9 on this list: Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, 1989. Hmm. I want to say I remember this game, but I don't believe I really played it that much. I might have put a few quarters in it if I ever saw it. Number 10 on this list: Zookeeper, 1983. I don't think I remember that one. Gyrus, 1983. It's not ringing any bells. Miss Pac-Man, 1982. Yeah, that's another classic coin-op game. Afterburner, 1987. I kind of remember that one. Time Pilot, 1982. I don't think I remember that one. Burger Time, 1982. I remember seeing this one. I actually remember seeing this one in one of my favorite arcades close to where I grew up, and walking right past it going to something else. Yeah. Yeah, it just didn't appeal to me. I think I passed it several times going to like Galaga or Millipede or Centipede or something like that. Track and Field, 1983. Again, one I've noticed at an arcade, but walked right past something else. Scrabble, Stern, 1981. Okay, this is kind of odd. Showing Scrabble, but showing a Star Wars cabinet there. That's kind of odd. Donkey Kong, 1981. Yeah, that was a classic. What is this? Kicks, 1981. Tapper, 1984. Ooh, Golden Axe. Yes, Golden Axe. That was one of my favorites way back when. Let's see, going back to the chat because I'm seeing it's jumping around quite active. Keely Chow saying Amazon ruined the Lord of the Rings. Yes. Yep. Yep. Sadly so. And Mikey, Amazon destroyed a lot of things. Yes. Yep. Sadly, if there's a franchise out there that we can pretty much lay safe bets that either Amazon or Netflix or Paramount or somebody out there will take a swing at it in an unkind manner. Gee, I wonder why Tapper was deemed inappropriate. I have no idea. Tapper was a great beer game. Yeah, yeah. ColecoVision games. Yep. Now, some of these on this list I've just never heard of. So they probably weren't at a arcade I frequented back in the day. But Golden Axe, yeah, I remember Golden Axe. There's a shot of. Oh, and that is the end of this article by this person named Daz. I hope you enjoyed reading through my personal choices for the best arcade games from the 80s. Oh, that's nice. Let's see. Next article I want to scoot over to. So we had the 80s. Now we're going into the 90s. The best arcade games from the 90s. Oh, 26. Yeah, I'm going to breeze through these. Let's see, what time is it? It is not going to be a late night for me, because I always joke about weaponizing my insomnia, but there's times that even after a long day, it starts to get to me and I start to drag. So I'll probably go on for maybe another 30 minutes or so and then wrap things up. I did want to touch on arcades and malls because those were, well, aside from comic book stores, frequenting comic book stores and whatnot, those are two of the places where I wasted a lot of time as a youth. So Clax 1990. Never heard of this game. Inspired by Tetris, Clax has not left the same lasting legacy. Yeah, if it doesn't have a lasting legacy, that's probably one of the reasons why I never heard of it. Alpha Mission 2, 1991. Oh, yeah, I think I remember playing this game. I hated these things because I was caught unaware by these buildings here shooting at you, and I was killing my spacecraft. Aliens vs. Predator, 1994. Capcom. Okay. Killer Instinct in 1994. Ninja Baseball Batman. That looks weird. Yeah. I can say with confidence that I have never seen this coin op game. Okay. Windjammers, 1994. That's another one I haven't seen. Daytona, USA. I've seen this game, but I don't think I really played it that much. I do remember from the 90s that there were better uh, racing games out there. The Simpsons, 1991. Pan Galactic Gargle Blasters all around and keep the party going. Yes. Yeah. Let's see. That's cool. Admiral Teague saying he saw but did not play a lot of these games. Yeah. Yeah, I had my favorites back in the day. It was things like Star Wars or Galaga, games like that. And then Golden Axe. That was a fun one. Then the Tron coin operated game. I remember playing that quite a bit way back when. Smash TV 1990. Cruisin' World 1996. Yeah, this is one of the other racing games I remember enjoying a lot more than some others. Let's see, what is this? Gauntlet Legends 1998. X-Men, the arcade game. Yeah, I remember that. And then there was also a Avengers video game that I poured quarters into. I had like a stack of quarters I would put right on that console for the Avengers or Captain America and the Avengers coin operated game. Every time I would die, you would hear the game going, Captain America still needs your help. And I would pile in more quarters in it. Crazy Taxi, 1999. Oh, yes. House of the Dead 2. I remember that. NBA Jam, 1993. I remember that, but I don't think I ever played it. In fact, I'd walked right past that numerous times going to other games. Let's see. Time Crisis 2. Yeah, that was a fun one. Soul Edge, 1995. Yeah, this was the era of those fighting games. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. Actually, any Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter game from that era, they're all pretty similar. Marvel versus Capcom, Clash of Superheroes, 1998. Number 7, we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, 1991. Street Fighter Alpha 3. Yeah, I want to say I played this quite a bit. It was either this or one of the other Street Fighter coin op games, because it seems like there were numerous variations of Street Fighter along with Tekken. 1994. Oh, and then X-Men Children of the Atom way back in 95. Dance Dance Revolution, DDR, 1998. Yeah, yeah. I have never done that. I've always seen it. I've always watched it. I've always been wowed by those people who can get on there and just take off. It's crazy when you see somebody who can do that well. It is truly a thing to behold. I mean, that is. Oh, yes, yes. At your local Dave and Buster's. Seems like that's a staple for Dave and Buster's to have a DDR machine in there. Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, 1994. Soul Calibur, 1998. And that is the end of this article. So transitioning right over from arcades. Boom. Why are shopping malls dying and how can they make a comeback? This looks like a quick read. I'm not going to bore everybody by reading every little bit about this. I mean, we all know the hows and whys and whatnots behind the unfortunate dying of the shopping mall. Let's see. Seeing the chat is pretty lively. Once again, I want to thank everybody for hanging out in the chat. It's so very cool to see you all there. Let's see. Toronto is a great Canadian city. Your only problem is the Blue Jays. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Mikey says 3 of my favorite malls through the Phoenix, Arizona area are all gone. Yes. Yeah. I've lived in several different places around Texas. Um, Most often, I would travel to Austin, Texas, the capital of Texas, for those outside of the state. Uh, there are numerous malls I used to hang out at that are just no longer there. I think one of them was demolished. Well, one of them was demolished. One of them was turned into a community college. And then another one was turned into a giant Walmart. And it's kind of sad because we don't need more Walmarts. And that particular mall in Austin, Texas, it was kind of sad because the neighborhood, all the neighbors physically grouped around the mall, arm in arm. They formed a human chain or a human shield, if you will, around the perimeter of the mall in protest of it being demolished and turned into a Walmart. It was a sight to see, but unfortunately, the developers and the city had their way, and it was a great mall and a not so great Walmart. Let's see. This article says shopping malls typically bring words like big and bustling and full of life to mind. This image has started to turn in recent years. So, what exactly has changed? The rise of online shopping, high maintenance costs, shopping habits have changed, fast fashion, decrease in foot traffic, which is unfortunate. Outdated mall model, which is, yeah, you could kind of say that because they were uh, from a bygone era of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Could shopping malls make a comeback? If they could become more experience based, focus on niche markets, become more community focused, make themselves more appealing to younger generations. Well, good luck with all that. So that was epos now.com. And this is architecturaldigest.com. What happens to a shopping mall after it dies? It gets covered in graffiti art and becomes kind of oldie, moldy, and musty. Okay, oh yeah, this is what I was reading earlier. There's a channel called The Proper People that might offer the most cinematic and beautifully shot footage of abandoned spaces that you'll ever find on the internet. I'm going to have to look that channel up because I do find it interesting. The lifespan of a mall. I mean, in Houston, I've known there have been a few that have come and gone in the Houston, Texas area. There's certainly been a good number in the Austin, Texas area. I have no idea about Dallas or San Antonio. I just find it interesting from a architectural point of view. I mean, when we look at these, they are huge constructions of glass, steel, concrete. What would you call them? Temples to consumerism. They do have this unique look to them, or they're just giant, sprawling concrete eyesores in the middle of a town. If you want to go that far, if you want to be critical of them, or you could say that they're kind of interesting and pretty cool to walk around. That was a quick article. Let's see. Going on in the chat. Oh, yes. Definite asbestos dangers exist around abandoned mall sites, too. Yes. That actually happened in one of the malls in Austin, Texas. It was it was one of the oldest malls, if not the oldest mall in Austin. It got shut down and turned into a community college. But before they could do all that, they actually had to clear it all out and then take all the ceiling tiles out of it because it was discovered that the ceiling tiles were asbestos. I think it was made in like the late 80s or no, the late 70s or early 80s when it was constructed. And I guess even back then, people just didn't think about asbestos in the early 80s. But yeah, for those who are like urban explorers exploring abandoned buildings, I don't think I would do that myself because that just seems like a really, I don't know, it could be fun, but then it could be hazardous because you don't know what you're quite literally walking into in an abandoned building or any kind of structure like that. All right, let's see. Taking a look at the time here. The last article of the evening I will touch on before I call it quits. What is this? TheWeek.com. Meet the man keeping Americans' dead malls alive. Is there hope for our once beloved social and commercial centers? There is something utterly fascinating about a dead mall. Yes. Isn't it, though? I mean, about any kind of uh, structure, storefront, or whatnot that used to be busy, that used to be bustling, that used to be like the center of activity, but then it just died. Like old storefront, old shopping mall, even an old theater that just shut down. I don't know what that is. It's something like kind of spooky about it in some ways. Oh, this article says feelings that are evoked by the eerie stillness of a once bustling place. Yep. Yeah. They say pictures can tell 1,000 words, but when I look at this picture, I just think of the den of the people in the stores walking around, the lights, the sounds, the crowds, the music going over the PA system. Let's see. The rise of the mall came in the 80s, a time of yuppie excess and money and spending as much money as you could. Malls sort of reflect that. The upscale malls, especially from that era, have the gaudiest glamour possible: brass, palm trees, and neon. Yeah, I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that. It was of its time. The 80s were awesome. I don't care what anybody says about that. The 80s were and always will be awesome. And that just looks so sad and lonely to see that little spot right there, that little alcove with what could have been what a Cinnabon or something, and then you got some closed storefront there. Now, as far as why they died, things like maintenance, yeah, I can imagine the maintenance behind a giant mall. Let's see what's going on in chat. Mikey says, poor Dillard's and Sears. Yeah, I know I shopped quite a bit at Sears and Dillard's and Montgomery Ward's way back in the day. I know it was way back then. It was a treat to get that giant Sears catalog in the mail because being a kid at that time, I would always find myself flipping right to the toy section because that was a treat back then to just have this giant book that you could browse through page after page of toys and then video games and whatnot. Then for the adult family members, there's like consumer electronics, like the new TV for dad or the stereo system for my brother and whatnot. It's We'll never have a period of time like that ever again. And Muzak was funny in malls, yeah. Sears ran into the death of the department stores, yep. Sears and service merchandise, yep. Oh, and yeah, your dad Sears loved Sears hardware for sure. Yeah, that was like a given. Sears Craftsman, all dads everywhere loved Craftsman tools. That was about as American as you could get. That was like mom, apple pie, the American flag, and then Sears Craftsman tools. Maybe your favorite Ford or Chevy vehicle, Jeep. It's just interesting to reflect way back when. I've thought a lot about nostalgia over the years because it's something that comes up from time to time. Like, why do people get nostalgic? They get nostalgic for times past when things were largely believed to have been better. I mean, everybody thinks, oh, things were so much better way back when. The culture was great, society was great, entertainment was good. People, for the most part, people got along. The culture didn't suck. So yeah, there's some nostalgia for times gone by. We just don't have that right now. We have dying malls. We have arcades that are gone. Their comic book stores are still around, but it would be hard if I wanted to start up a comic book store again. It would be hard to do so because there are so many factors that would make it difficult to have one. It would be a challenge, but it'd also be a really fun challenge. Like when I was visiting friends in Austin, Texas, I remember we would go to one part of town, like the south end of town, and hit one comic book store in South Austin, hang out there for a bit, and we'd pile in the car, go to the next comic book store, maybe a little further north, then so on and so on. And in 3 or 4 hours, we would go from South Austin to North Austin, and we would easily hit like a dozen different comic book stores. Now I wouldn't even hazard a guess as to how many of those are still around. Maybe three, maybe four. Let's see. Keely Chow saying, I know the catalog I was getting in the mail was the Braves Clubhouse catalog. I'm not familiar with that one. Yes, yes, yes. Almost choking to death. passing the perfume counter in most department stores, whether it was a Sears or a Montgomery Ward's. Yeah, if you couldn't make your way around that little area, but you had to go straight through just to get to like the food court or Suncoast Records or whatever. Yeah, that was pretty hazardous. You go to a mall and finish all of your Christmas shopping in less than a week. Yeah, very true. And there was something about the experience of getting out, being around crowds of people, mingling with people, going to a store, picking up an item, holding it in your hands, looking it over, and then deciding whether or not you want to buy it. Now it's like, oh, you go to a website and you do a few clicks of the mouse and you'll get it the next day. Yeah, it's not the same experience. Yep, perfume counter smells were overwhelming. Yeah, it's just amazing to think back of those of us who are around at the 70s and 80s. There's so much that has changed. Some for the better, but mostly not. Unfortunately, it's just kind of crazy to kind of take a moment and reflect back at what culture was like way back when. No more interactive communication anymore. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we do have the internet today, and we do have the internet that we can like do all kinds of stuff like comic books, movies, streaming, whatnot. But I don't know. Being a child of the 70s and 80s is just something about that period of time that I miss. Oh, great topics. Oh, thank you. Glad you're enjoying it because all I'm doing is just rambling on, trying not to be boring. Oh, good. So glad y'all are enjoying it. Because I always look at people joining my chat thinking, oh boy, more people I can bore to death. Yes. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me tonight. It's been fun reflecting back on what was, what could be. I mean, there's so much out there that we just miss. It's just a change in the culture, a change in society. Slowly things go from like the 70s and 80s to the 90s, and then all of a sudden it's 2023 and I'm looking around going, everything is crap. Where did the good times go? That's a what, a Van Halen song from what I remember. Where did the good times go? Yeah, just all the things I think back that aren't around anymore because, well, I keep using Austin, Texas as an example because that's one of the cities I used to live in Texas. Um, for those who don't know, Austin, Texas was unique. It's like well, now it's a blue dot in the middle of a red state. But at one time, it was more purplish, because people would get along, they would exchange ideas, left, right, center, whatnot. But now, yeah, it's changed. It's all the cool things in Austin are long gone. They've been torn down, paved over, and turned into big box stores and big box apartments and big box this and big box that without any soul or character. And that's kind of where we are now, society and culture. I mean, when you look back at entertainment during the 80s and 90s and compare that to the entertainment today, and it's just sad. And I don't even want to touch on it because I do get tired of bashing Disney. Ah, let the good times roll, the cars. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, thinking, speaking of good music, yeah, 80s had the one hit wonders, but man, you still remember those one hit wonders. Bored to death. We haven't heard from Zaphod. There you are. Cool. Yes. Yes. It is sad. Everything. I mean, here we are. We're all fans of the culture. We're all fans of Star Wars, Star Trek, what have you. You can think of any franchise from the 70s and 80s, sci fi, fantasy, whatever. And all it is now is just another IP to be mined, to be shaped and molded by corporate interests. Soulless corporate interests taking our culture and twisting it. And it's kind of sad. But it is what it is. I mean, we have plenty of entertainment still. We have lots of things to enjoy, even if the entertainment we have today burns to the ground. Yes, yes, I remember that. I remember that awful, awful movie, and the oh goodness, the differences between that movie and the original 6 episode miniseries from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's just really, really sad what they did to it. Let's see. And Keely Chow says Disney and the CW had better not reboot Buffy. Yeah, yeah. That or Xena or Hercules. I mean, as much as I will pontificate on about the 80s, the 90s had its fair share of quality entertainment as well. I mean, I didn't quite care for the music from the 90s because it seemed like everybody started wearing flannel and then singing about how depressed they were. And you compare that to the party that was the 80s, and that was kind of a letdown. That wasn't even the after party after the party. That was like, it was like everybody just leaving depressed and going back home after the party. But that was like 90s music and what I think of 90s music. Mikey says Lucasfilm sold out to Disney. Yeah, good Jedi, evil Sith. Yeah, yeah. Uh, at some point, things are going to hit rock bottom. Things cannot continue on as they are now. I mean, things are going to have to hit rock bottom. All these corporations like Disney are going to look around and say, well, if we don't sell off what we own, we're going to collapse. Let's see. Mikey says, in my humble opinion, music as a whole died after 2000. Yeah, I can kind of see that. It's kind of interesting to think about music and TV because, oddly enough, I use 1990 as like a dividing line for TV entertainment and whatnot. Like, I will look at TV shows from 1990 on back to like 1970 or 1960. And then I'll look at TV from 1990 forward to current day, because it seems like somewhere in the 90s there was a shift where we had the stuff we had in the 80s, and then maybe a little dry period of time, and then boom, Hercules and Xena, Briscoe County Jr., things like that. All the stuff that came out, boom, 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 in the 90s. Let's see here. Let's see. Killer Rabbit says in the 90s, country music became more like pop music. Yeah, I was never big into country myself. I was more of, at the time, I was into hard rock and heavy metal. Less so now. Now there might be some country I'll sit down and listen to, because music as a whole today, uh, I can't put my finger on it. There's something about it that is just soulless. It's lacking something: rhythm, beat, an evil cosmic shift. Yeah, yeah. That's just how I think of it. It's like before the 90s and after the 90s. And then I've heard people comment about how things have really changed from, say, 2000 and 2001, because things really seem to take a nosedive after that. Let's see. Yeah, an evil cosmic shift. Yeah, it was something about the culture, how things have changed way back when. I'm sure anybody who was around in the 40s and 50s and 60s can go even further, because I find myself quite enjoying some of the music from the 50s and 60s. Um, Early music back then, whether it's classic rock or, well, even surf rock, like Dick Dale and the Dale Tones and that sort of stuff. There's something to be said about the 50s and 60s music era and entertainment back then. No, every decade has its positives to it, pluses and negatives, good and bad. It says something that we're in a period of time now that there's more negative than there is positive, and it's just really sad. Let's see, kids who grew up in the 2000s and after, yeah, they will never know the joy, the excitement of being a kid in the 1970s or 80s, getting up early on a Saturday morning, getting a bowl full of sugary coated breakfast cereal, and planning themselves right down in front of the TV to catch Saturday morning cartoons. They'll never have that experience, and that's kind of sad in some ways. I mean, yeah, it can be duplicated with streaming and the hundreds and hundreds of choices and animated entertainment. You could replicate that, but it won't be the same. It won't be the same as sitting in front of a 25-inch color TV when all you had was three channels and maybe two or three channels, depending on where the rabbit ears are pointed and whatnot. And then your dad saying to get out of the way because he was wanting to watch some sports or something after your cartoons were over with. Yeah, kids these days. Yeah, I do feel sorry for them, because we all enjoy our childhoods, and I know kids these days enjoy their childhoods, but yeah, it's not the same. I can't see any kid getting excited about anything on TV like we were so excited way back when. Catching an episode of Scooby Doo or uh, the Super Friends, that era, it was magic. It's cheesy now. I mean, you look at it and I was like, oh, that's cheesy. But back then, it was just nothing short of amazing. Mikey says, replication and repetition are so sad. Yeah. Like the saying goes, there's nothing new under the sun. Truly, nothing new under the sun. They just look at what was past so they can alter it, change it, and throw it out there to be consumed. Yes, rabbit ears, I said. Rabbit ears. Those old timey antennas that stuck to the cabinet of those old CRT TVs. And sometimes you had to like manipulate them just right, or else you get a lot of static. Sometimes you'd have to go to the kitchen and get a little bit of aluminum foil and wrap around one of them. Loved altering those old rabbit ears. Yes. Or if you had a house and you had an outdoor antenna, you had to take like some pliers and go outside and physically move the mast or pole that the outdoor antenna was positioned on. Then your dad would start yelling through the window. It's like, okay, a little bit more, a little bit more. No, no, that's good. No, stop. Okay, back the other way. There it is. Perfect. That and you're always a remote control. This was long before we had remote control clickers for the TV. Your dad or your mom would always say, "Oh, get up and change the channel for me." You'd have to get up, walk over, and change the channel from like the VHF or the UHF, and try to tune it in. So and pray it came in clear because you didn't want to go back outside and have to turn that antenna mast around. Yeah, I don't quite miss that. Come to think of all thinking of all the things I miss from that era, I don't miss that. Yeah, before remote control. Yes. Before you have that remote control clicker because it was like a little uh, box that had just maybe two, maybe three buttons on it, like the power, and then two buttons for the channel. And it would make clunking sound like clunk, clunk, clunk. Yeah, the episode of Married with Children where they had to hold several antenna to get Fox. Yeah. Oh yeah, for the longest time there were only three channels, and then Fox came out in like the mid '80s, and it was like, oh, a fourth network. Wow. Now we have hundreds, and it's like, well, what do we watch? It's not crap. I know what's what. Let's go watch something from the '80s or '90s, back when things didn't suck. It's funny. People will say Married with Children. I'm actually thinking of All in the Family, that old sitcom. There was going on about TV antennas and old remote controls, and I was thinking of Archie Bunker sitting in front of his TV trying to get something that way. Yeah, that's where I'm thinking. That's where I'm from. That era. Let's see. I have been rambling on now for some time. Oh, well over an hour. Okay. Well, I can feel myself starting to drag here, and morning comes early. So I am going to have to call it quits for the night. And before I go, I want to shout out everyone for joining me tonight. This has been awesome. Thank you all. Let's see who joined me as I bump into my microphone here. As I scroll and scroll and scroll, let's see. First on the scene was Killer Rabbit from Space. Next was Zaphod Beeblebrox, who I thought was new, but he was a rebranded Tim the Enchanter. Then Admiral Teague showed up. And then Keely Chow. Very cool. Thank you for joining me from the West Moody raid. That was very cool of you to do. Then Mikey Suze 4. I know I might have butchered that, and I do apologize. Let's see who else was in the chat. Zaphod, Keely, Teague, Killer Rabbit. Scrolling down, scrolling down. I think I covered everybody. Yeah, that's cool. As always, thank you all for hanging out and checking this out. Thanks for a great. Oh, glad you enjoyed it. Glad you enjoyed it. Like my goal is to my goal on my live streams is I tell myself, okay, talk about something, try to make it interesting, and don't bore people. Those are my goals usually. I don't always succeed because I'll listen to it and find myself thinking, man, I'm dull. I'm dull. Good night and have a pleasant tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you so much for a cool stream. Good night. And anybody out there who might have been lurking, just checking me out, thanks so much for checking me out, for lurking. Hope it's been entertaining as I pontificate about days gone by. And sometimes I like to end my live streams with a prompt to enjoy some good entertainment because life is too short for bad entertainment. If you don't like something, don't watch it, even though we do find ourselves all hate watching Star Trek or the newest Star Wars. Now, if you get tired of it, go do something you enjoy. Read a good book, watch a good TV show or movie. Life is too short for bad entertainment. And with that, I will end it for tonight. Thank you all. Until next time, everyone. See ya.